Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to a Nerd 2 Battle to the Death. I am here joined,
Arr,
yeah,
arr.
I am joined by my good friend here, Ginger Greek, and me and him have opposing views on the Eternals, not in what you probably think, but um, usually me and Ginger, when there's a we consider a bad Marvel movie, we normally on the same page. So I'm like, well, man, me and Ginger need to get the fuck together and talk about this shit. So,
Indeed.
how are you doing today, my friend?
I am very, very well. Very, very well. Now, here's the funny thing. The funny thing is this time round, I'm the lover, you're the hater.
Yeah.
Whereas usually it's the other way around. In fact, I'm quite well known for being a negative Nancy, but that's because nothing really imbues me with joy in much of the movie sphere. It's all very simplistic and too many jokes. So here we have a role reversal of sorts.
And just to also preface, I don't hate Eternals. I don't think it's bad. I think it's kind of a meh movie for me. So, but me and Ginger, we're just gonna shoot the shit for about 30 minutes, and we're gonna talk about what we thought and plot points and our opposing views on some things, and we're just gonna go. So we're not gonna like recap the whole movie. So if you're here for like a review or a recap of the whole movie, well, we got your click already. So whatever. Go ahead.
Spoilers,
Yeah,
spoilers. The whole thing is
spoilers.
spoilers, by the way. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Yes. Okay, so getting into it. I'll start with one of mine. I hated the fact that, and I can't remember what's the actor the actor in the movie. What was his name? I can't
Who?
remember.
Icarus?
No, 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 no. The actor, like the guy who was playing an actor in a movie.
What?
Like uh, Indian descent. I can't remember his name.
Oh, Nish Kumar.
Yeah.
I
I didn't
forget
like
who
the
his
fact that he
character.
just, huh?
I can't remember what his character was actually called in the fucking film.
Yeah, no,
Forgot.
neither can I. That's why I'm like, I can't. I meant to look it up, but anyway. So I hate the fact that he just kind of fucked off at the end of the movie, and we didn't see him until the end, like the very, very end. Um,
Yeah.
I was like, I thought he was going to come back in. I didn't even necessarily need him to come back in and like join the good guys part of the whole thing. I thought that he might come in and join Icarus. Like, but I thought it was kind of dumb that he kind of just fucked off and just didn't do anything. Like I was like, okay, we spent a lot of time with this character throughout the movie, and it felt a little bit flat that he just was, I'm out, I can't help you, bye, and then he was done.
It was a bit of a. I mean, I get why they did it, but it kind of felt like a bit of a cop out as well. That's one thing I'm in agreement with because here you had an opportunity to just be like, holy crap! Here you have two characters, two Eternals versus the rest of the Eternals, or three of the half and half fighting each other. But instead, they just take the guy, and he could have been the great like the middle part of this conflict. 'Cause he doesn't want Icarus to kill the Eternals. He doesn't want the Eternals to kill Icarus. So he's trying to fight them all off, kind of thing. At the same time, he doesn't want to stop what's about to happen, and so he would have actually been a linchpin in a greater conflict that you wouldn't have seen. But they played it a bit safe by having him go away. Then he just comes back, and it's like, oh, it's like, no, you fucking abandoned us. Fuck you, kind of thing. But
Yeah. I was very upset about that whole fact. I was like, wait
yeah,
a minute, like, and I thought I was waiting for him to show back up and either join the good side of the Eternals or the bad side of the Eternals. I didn't care either way. I mean, I knew that the Earth wasn't going to be destroyed regardless. I mean, unless they were really going in a different direction with the MCU. They have to gather the Dragon Balls and wish it back.
wrong
Uh,
field, mate. But yeah, I mean, I think his character in general was a little. I felt he was a little bit stiff. Uh, I don't personally get the hype with Nish Kumar myself. I've seen a lot of stuff he's in, and I'm just like, I just find his delivery very stiff. I didn't like his character in this either. I actually preferred the guy that followed him and documented his stuff. I thought
yeah, I know, right?
he,
He should have
he
been an
was
Eternal.
fantastic. Yeah, he was really good, but he was more of the kind of weaker characters in the film, personally speaking. I enjoyed. So what I liked about this film, first, the second most important point to get through about this film, the jokes were kept to a minimum in the right place. They didn't overshadow everything like literally every other MCU film does. Even the great work by the Russo brothers was often spoiled with too much goddamn humor and jokes. And this one, and I think why one of the biggest reasons it goes high up on my list is because they kept it to a minimum. It felt right where they did it. You're talking about a group of people that know each other really well, bonding. You're going to have banter, you're going to have jokes. It's just normal. What they didn't do is have jokes being cracked in the middle of life or death situations and big action scenes and all of that. It was so refreshing. Like, it's so sad that we've come to a point where my main expectation from a Marvel film is please don't overload it with jokes, because Guardians of the Galaxy kind of ruined everything. Because as much as I love that film and it had its place as being humorous and all of that, it kind of just set the tone for the rest of the MCU, and it was just like, all right, enough now, kind of thing. So this film, thankfully, foregoes a lot of that stuff, and there was a lot of other things they did different to other MCU films, which I thought was fantastic. The action scenes, no shaky cam, better editing, clear. You could see what's happening. Although the dark scenes were a little bit too dark at times, at least with the action, you could see what was happening. A lot of unexpected things were happening as well. Like when you see like certain people's powers grow, like Xerxes' powers grow, and just all these little turns and people getting killed off. Like I didn't expect to see that Salma Hayek's character was murdered off, and then the
Ajax,
twist
yeah.
of how it happens. Things are just brilliant. Um, yeah.
And it was
So
in the beginning too. Like I mean, I know there were a lot
yeah.
of flashbacks throughout the film, but Zam says Eternals felt like Marvel's Justice League with an evil Superman. I did feel those vibes towards the end, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate the fact that they took Icarus and they kind of made him a villain. I just didn't like. And if you not to jump into another topic that I didn't like, but I mean Icarus just and flying into the sun.
That was a cop out. That was again another one of those cop outs.
I
I
know,
didn't
like
like that
when
part
he went
either.
out to space, I'm like, okay, maybe we'll see him again in the future. Maybe he'll make a deal with, I don't know, the Kree or something. Maybe we'll see him cross over with
Yeah.
another type of space faring thing. No, 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 no. He flies into the sun because he's so sad that he failed or that he went against
Yeah.
his
I'm
love.
sad now. I'm gonna die. It's like you could just get your memory erased, mate, and start from the beginning. One of the whole premises is you get your memory erased. Obviously, the job wasn't completed, but it's just that there were so many other options. He could have flown off into space, got his own personal redemption story, but instead they just went right for the metaphor, a literal metaphor of Icarus flying to the sun and dying. I kind of expected that. I don't know why. That was the one thing I expected. I was like, okay, now that he's a bad guy, I bet he gets like thrown into the sun or something like that because they just want to go full hog on that metaphor.
Zam says he could be alive. I don't know. They seemed like it was pretty final, and he's not invulnerable like Superman. Nowhere near,
Yeah.
because the deviants were able to like pierce his skin with their little things. So you fly close enough to the sun, you're probably going to be dead. Like, I mean, and he was flying pretty close. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
The
I
other
would
thing,
go
so
ahead.
sorry.
No, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so one of the other things that bugs me as well, like I like the look of the deviants, don't get me wrong, I thought that look was fantastic. But the part where he gains full consciousness and is able to speak and explain the situation, you'd think there'd be a lot more diplomatic kind of discussion between the two, like this conflict that they have, which the end game is just a load of bollocks and they just want to be free. And you think, okay, there's an understanding there and all this kind of stuff. But instead, they're just like, and I'm just going to kill you all. And that's it. And then
Yeah, it's
we
the
must have a definitive bad guy.
It felt to me, it felt very, and don't get me wrong, this is one of my favorite Thor movies, but it did feel Thor: The Dark World with Malekith. Like
Yeah,
it just felt like he was just kind of there to make some tension. Um yeah, I don't know. I mean, and it seemed
yeah,
a little bit of a cop out, where it's like, they were frozen under the ice for thousands of years, and now global warming, which I'm not going to get into a political debate on that, but global warming has now broken the ice, and I'm like, okay, so now we got environmental messages in our in
yeah.
our
Let's
Marvel
go
movies.
environmental. We're killing the planet, kind of thing. Yeah, I mean that was a bit daft, but yeah, they could have done a lot more with the deviants, especially after he gained consciousness and things like that. He could have just like instead of sending his people to die, it's like we've we've kind of died enough. Let's they could have actually gone off and done a thing or something, or they could have helped out in the end and then gone their separate ways and or something like that.
I mean, they could have pulled a Captain Marvel where it's like, look, us deviants are not that bad, but you guys have been killing us for centuries.
Yeah,
We are defending ourselves.
yeah, that's
Zam says
exactly what they could
deviants.
have done with it. But I think they probably wanted to skirt that because they didn't want another scroll situation.
I
If they were
understand that,
thinking
but
that
at the
far
same
ahead.
time, I understand that, but at the same time, it's kind of like I feel like it was appropriate here. And the scroll twist was good too, because I was expecting the scrolls to be the bad guys because of comic
Mm,
book lore,
yeah,
but I felt like it was appropriate here. And so Zam says the deviants reminded me of Hydra from Hellboy 1. I mean, everything kind of borrows from everything else. Can I s- can I say one of the things that I really enjoyed about this movie that I never thought in a million years I would ever say?
yeah.
I really enjoyed Angelina Jolie's character in this movie. I do not like Angelina Jolie. I don't like her acting, and I don't like her face. So,
Jesus, a bit
so
extreme.
I know, but I mean, but at the same time, I really like her, and I'm trying to figure out what was the name of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, Gilgamesh. Great chemistry.
They were so good. I mean,
Great
I was,
chemistry.
to borrow a term from you guys, I was gutted when he died. I was like, "Holy shit, what is
Yeah,
going to," and I mean, and I love
but
just
that's sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, you finish it off, and then I'll come back to that bit about
I mean, I
Gilgamesh.
just when he died and her, like, Angelina Jolie was just like, I felt it. I felt it with her, and, like, that's the first time I've ever watched an Angelina Jolie performance and actually been like, "I feel your pain. I see what you're doing and what you're going through." So, I was actually very encouraged walking out of that about Angelina Jolie, maybe not as a person, but as an actor.
Yeah. See, for me, obviously, I like Angelina Jolie, but she hasn't been in anything good in a while. Like some of her earlier stuff was great, like Girl Interrupted, Hackers, and things like that. And then obviously, the more her star grew in the action films, weren't that all that great. But I loved her as Tomb Raider as well as Lara Croft. I thought she was great. That being said, she was phenomenal in this film. This is one of her best performances. And I have to take this moment to also say another reason why this film goes high up on my list is because for the first time, the women weren't these boring, one dimensional Mary Sues. They were all deeply flawed. They had their problems. They weren't perfect in every way. I mean, their leader gets fucking killed early on. Their best warrior is mentally unstable and needs comforting just to knock off the rails and kill everyone. The one that doesn't age is pissed off at everything because she can't get this joy of love and all this kind of stuff. And Gemma Chang's character Xerxes is like burdened now with being like the leader and struggles to find it all the way. She doesn't just become the leader now; is perfect at everything and yeah, Sprite, that was her name. But she, the you know, how many other like Captain Marvel? As much as I enjoyed the film, they played it too safe with Brie. She was very boring, very perfect, very Mary Sue-ish. Same with Ray. Disney does this with their female characters, and it's actually a detriment to female characters because it makes the audience just be like, ugh. Whereas this one, I don't think anyone's got anything is gonna complain about the female characters in this. They all put in a fantastic performance, and for me, Angelina Jolie stole the show.
Hmm.
She definitely stole the show as Athena, and Gilgamesh was their chemistry was fantastic. He was a great character, played brilliantly, but I love that he died because it was sad that he died, but it was just it's another good thing about a film about your heroes is sometimes some of your heroes have to die,
Hmm.
and they have to die in a way that you're just never going to see coming, and that's what makes a film great. That's what keeps you gripped because you're like, holy crap, what's going to happen next? Who's next to die? What's this? Whereas when your heroes are just there, and I know the Suicide Squad kind of tried to do it, but apart from me cheering when Rick Flag died, I was happy about that. I don't know if I'll spoil anything, but who gives a shit?
We
The
already
film
said
was
spoilers,
terrible.
so blanket
Yeah,
spoilers
we
for
said spoilers,
everything.
so there's always going to be spoilers. But when Rick Flag, I kind of cheered, and I didn't care about the characters. But in the Eternals, you genuinely cared about these characters. So seeing them die, it was great. Yeah, and the one that was deaf, her performance was fantastic.
Makari. Well,
Makari, yeah, that's
yeah,
it.
Makari. She
Makari, which
was
means
the
luck
Flash
in
ripoff.
Greek. Yeah, and I just the performances all around were great. Apart from Nish Kumar, I just found that he was the one that kind of it just felt stiff. But everyone else was really really great, and the fact that people died in this was brilliant. Another great performance was Kit Harington, who was kind of the comedic relief. But you see, when you're doing on the comedy, I know this is going to sound a little bit egocentric here, but the way the kind of British actors delivered that was so much more better because it was more subtle, it felt more natural, more flowing in this. There's others like, because I find as much as I like the Guardians, one, the comedy is very try hard. James Gunn's stuff is very try hard, whereas this, it felt kind of natural. And Kit Harington's character was really good at being the kind of comedic relief. But he was serious when it needed to be. And the kind of relationship conflict he had with Gemma Chang and all this was just added another dimension to this film.
Okay. One of the other things, and this is where me and you may disagree. I was not feeling Gemma Chan's character at all. I get the fact she was conflicted because that she was trying to be this leader, but really the only reason why Ajax picked him or picked her to be the leader is because she wanted to stop the emergence, which is the
Yeah.
celestial emerging from the earth and blowing it up. I felt like, and I mean that was probably part of the conflict. Like, she only picked you because you love the people of this planet, and that's why. Like, she didn't pick Icarus because she knew Icarus would follow the celestial to the destruction of the earth or whatever. So, I mean, that's why I was kind of like, I wasn't feeling her too much. I felt like her powers, I, I just felt like her powers kind of came. I had issues with her powers in the sense of I felt like they elevated really too quickly. But the other thing is like it also kind of goes hand in hand with the celestial coming out of the earth. Dude, if a celestial comes through the tectonic plates, the fucking earth is fucked. It's not just some
Yeah.
hand in the head. Like that is one of my big things also about this movie is that the celestial coming out of the earth, like that's it. Like you've got tidal waves all over the earth. The tectonic plates are screwed. The earth is falling apart at that point. It's not just like, ha, and then he's stuck there. Like, no, if something is coming from the core of the earth is fucked. Like it is a enclosed system for a
Well,
reason.
at the point of where it's coming out as well, I mean, you can have it in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It makes no fucking difference. That thing coming out is going to wreck Earth because the amount of heat that's going to explode out
Yeah.
from there. I mean, the visual of it is gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, because obviously, she kind of takes the powers of everyone else, and that's what helps kind of amplify it and all of that. But the visual of the celestial frozen is fantastic. Logically, makes no fucking sense. Yeah, Earth would have been destroyed. I mean, given how fucking big this thing is, the fact that even if a finger poked through, everything would have been destroyed, let alone its head and its hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, that part was silly, but I kind of let it slide because just the visual of it was really really good. And you know, we're trying to find too much logic in an MCU film.
And
Yeah,
Zam says that Harrington was sidelined in my opinion, but I have to forgive the payoff for the post credit scenes. I don't I don't agree with you. Only I don't feel like he was sidelined. I felt like he was in it enough for us to care about the character. We want to see more of him. But this story was not about the Black Knight.
yeah,
Like it is introducing a character that is probably going to becoming something in the near future. Like they've said Black Knight is coming, and obviously with the post credit scene, which is that um that's what we're going to be getting.
yeah.
Before we move on to the post credit scenes, was there anything else you wanted to speak on? Oh, do we want to address the big conspiracy with this, or do we just want to let our opinions lie? Like,
Go for it.
I mean, I just with this, we probably do not have opposing opinions on this. The male relationship in this movie is gorgeous, and you feel the love and you see the
Mm-hmm.
love, and you know what? It is a true testament to what inclusion means because they went all in on it. And honestly, I mean, you can say, oh well, it's not like a major MCU character, but at the same time, those other MCU characters are not gay in the comics. But you've taken this character and you've given them this amazing story and they don't pull any punches on it. And I'm happy about that.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful family, a beautiful moment, and I love seeing it portrayed on the screen. And they don't sit there and handhold you. Like they're not just like we're going to ease you into this. They're like, no, this is their relationship. This is what's going on. They have a family, and he's willing to fight for it. And this character, I have to bring up his name
Festus.
again. Brian Tyree Henry, Fastos. Is that what?
Festus, yeah.
Fastos. I love even in this movie. I love this character because he's like he's tech, but it's almost to the point of looking like magic or like Asgardian tech because it's like it's so advanced.
Yeah,
I love the fact that he was able to go toe to toe with Icarus, and it's just because he's smart and he's awesome. I was marking out when he was sitting there taking Icarus down with his tech stuff, and I was like, yeah, like clip those
yeah,
wings, baby.
yeah. I again, I have to completely agree here. I think it was one of those where it was long overdue because again, Disney, despite despite their kind of push for the inclusion stuff, they tend to play it safe because they want that Chinese money. Because obviously, as you know, China is massively not so much the people themselves, but the government doesn't want any kind of gay imagery, as far as I know. And obviously, they completely killed off their Middle Eastern market. But these are gambles they took, knowing that it doesn't really matter in this because not many people are going to be that invested. And I'm glad they did it, and it just felt natural. It never felt forced. It was just like, yeah, this is my boyfriend or husband. This is our kid. But it was such a great story told as well. You felt for that character. You knew what he was fighting for,
Yes.
and he had a lot more to lose than the other people because he had an emotional investment on the planet being saved because he had his family to kind of rescue, and you felt that, and it was beautifully done. You never felt at any point, oh god, this is just forced wokeism. It's a character that nobody cares about, and anyone that says, oh, Fastos is my favorite character in the whole of the MCU, they're fucking lying. And not the MCU, the comic books, they're lying. And I've said it in a previous video that this thing got review bombed on IMDb, so much so that IMDb had to turn off the reviews for this film. And it just shows you how pathetically fragile men really are, that they can't handle other men kissing. And the other thing with this, it's the first MCU film that had two people openly having sex in it
Oh
as
yeah, I
well,
forgot about that part.
which is another thing that kind of set it apart. All right, it was cheesy, but it was still great to see because they did it. Disney is starting to be a little bit more adult with their stuff rather than fucking kiddie shit with like scared of having proper relationships in there or any kind of like sex and nudity and natural things, not this fucking embedded Christian fundamentalism that kind of was born out of Disney. No offense to Christians, I'm just saying that's what Walt Disney was. But it's kind of nice to see them break that mold as well. And the controversy is just silly. None of us. Well, no, because he was more interested in had a personality.
Yeah.
But that's my trail of thought now. It's thanks, Sam. Thanks. It's gone.
Well, but I just want to say is like you're right. Like, what you're right. Like, I didn't give any fuckalls about this character. Now I want more. I want him
Yeah,
to show up in other stuff and be like, look here, you know. When I think with the post credit scene, I think he can't really show up because didn't the Celestial take them with him? I was a
yeah,
little
they're
iffy
gone.
on. Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah,
Okay. But you know, I want to see him show up in more stuff and just like, hey, we need a tech savvy dude. And instead of going to well, obviously not Tony Stark anymore, but like, you know, they go to like, you know, some tech savvy dude or, you know, they go to God, who is tech savvy now that's in the MCU?
probably
Um,
Hank.
huh?
Probably Hank Pym, Michael Douglas.
Yeah. But like you have this guy now. Give me more of Fastos. I want more.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I,
and I
I
mean, he
agree. Now that
wants to
they've
help.
broke the mold and are interfering, you can see more of him once
Yeah,
they
and I mean,
return.
like
But
he,
that's what I was gonna say in terms of like changing characters to be gay. Again, I said it in the previous video about Iceman. They kind of retroactively turned him gay in the comics, but like Iceman is such a boring character. He's got amazing powers, but he's such a boringly written character that doesn't really matter. But if you did it to Scott or Wolverine or like Gambit and things like that, then you'll rightfully be pissed off because that's just unnecessary. You don't fuck with main characters, side characters. Do what you like, kind of
and
thing.
you know what? Make us, and like this character, make us care about the character that you're creating out of this boring, like old, like character in the comic books. Fastos. I've never even heard of him until this movie, but now I want more. I want
Yeah,
more, and I want to see him in other things. But that's
yeah.
what you got to do. You got to take these like it's like the Guardians. Like who the fuck read the Guardians? Like I mean, I know they obviously had stuff, but I mean, like they weren't a mainstay name. Nobody knew anything
I
about
think
the
I
Guardians.
think with Guardians of the Galaxy, that a lot of people's introduction to that was during the was it Annihilation Conquest run,
Yeah.
which is a really good comic book run. That was my introduction to the Guardians of the Galaxy, and after that was over, I just didn't care. Yeah, Reed Richards will eventually be there. Oh yeah, you still got Shuri. Good point.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, you know, but still, but beyond all that, I mean, it's still,
yeah, another two things that kind of bugged me was we never got to see Baby Thanos, even though they said they was going to be in there. Not that it really matters, but he was rumored to be in there, and that obviously didn't come to fruition. Hey, Gary. But the main thing, and I'm hoping this is just the Eternals themselves misinterpreting what they are, but they kind of come across like they're created like androids, kind of thing, where they're not. They're just created by the Celestials as demigods.
yeah.
But I'm kind of hoping the Eternals themselves misinterpret what they are, like androids, and then your memories kind of erase when the mission's over. I thought that bugged me because that's not true to the comics. Um, but
Well, and that's
again, in
another
this
way we could
universe,
see Icarus again. I mean, that was what I
yeah,
was thinking is like, if they're technically created by the Celestials, you could just make another Icarus.
yeah, make another Icarus, and he can be yet again the protagonist, the antagonist in the next one, because you saw like Gemma Chang seeing other versions of Gemma Chang kind of created and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, and what about Harry Styles being cast as Red Fox? What a fucking weird casting choice that was.
Star Fox,
Thanos'
not Red
brother,
Fox.
Star Fox, sorry, or Red Fox,
Or
Star Fox,
Eros, brother of
yeah,
Thanos. And
Eros.
uh yeah, I don't I know of Eros or Star Fox, whatever you want to call him. I don't care that much. I mean, everybody I see all these news articles online. I saw these nude articles too. The news articles
Hey,
online where it's like oh the post credit MCU makes for the next big bad and yada and I'm like really because I did not get that vibe like it definitely leads into the next Eternals movie
yeah,
but like I don't feel like this leads into the next MCU big bad. I still feel like that's
No,
going to
no,
be Kang. Like that's
no.
I
The
yeah,
next,
I think
yeah,
that
Loki
clickbait.
gave us the next MCU big bad.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think they
for
gave us the
sure.
next Eternals big bad. But like,
Yeah. Also, we never saw Galactus in this. Again, another missed opportunity to kind of if Galactus was spoiled to be appearing in this film, a lot more people would have probably gone to see it. Um, but here's the other thing as well. I mean, we pretty much touched on the film. Again, I'll just quickly say I loved all the flashback stuff. The going through time and when the mind controller guy. God damn it! I should have remembered the names, but when he kind of
Druig is the mind control
Druid,
guy.
that's it. Yeah. When he just kind of had enough and he's just like, ah, fuck this. And he just had his own little cult in the middle of nowhere. But all these kind of ventures through time, through Babylon and all that, I have just loved all of that. I kind of wish it stayed more in the past.
And
So it was
that
like
was one of my main points too, was I kind of wish this movie
yeah,
would have been more in the past.
yeah, more in the past prior to everything. But they're kind of, like their big accident should have been helping to create the industrial revolution, which kind of ends up leading to rapid colonialism in Africa and Asia, and to the eventually like the fucking events of the First World War and all this kind of stuff. And it should have kind of picked up from there. But again, it was in the present, which was, they should have just kept it in the past. And their stories kind of discovered by somebody like Kit Harington's character kind of
Yeah,
discovered it, who kind of is on a voyage to discover himself and finds all this stuff, and that would have been better because it could have led to like Merlin and Captain Britain and all this kind of stuff, or the creation of MI13. So many different avenues. But okay, that's just a minor gripe. It doesn't really matter too much. And that being said, the most interesting part actually I found with this, and I had a lot of discussions about this. Well, not really discussions, but putting people in their place about this on Twitter. If we go by Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't really care
oh
about
god.
Rotten Tomatoes, but the critics have scored it very low, but the audience has scored it very high.
I'm bringing it up
Uh,
right now because this is absolutely hilarious. Like I sent a picture to you guys earlier.
yeah. So what I find funny about this is people on Twitter, the hashtag woke brigade on Twitter, are attacking people saying the only reason it's got such a low score is because people are homophobic and they just don't like all this woke stuff and blah blah blah. And I'm like, hang on a second. You do realize that the audience have scored it very, very high and the critics haven't. So essentially, you lot are saying that the critics are massively homophobic and uncomfortable with these kind of characters in the MCU, but the audience is perfectly fine with that. No
Yeah. I
responses,
mean,
a
I
couple of blocks, and yeah, that's what I find hilarious. That the critics scored it low, and everyone else has scored it really, really high.
and that's the thing. It's kind of like, I mean, as I said, I'm not the biggest fan of this movie. I think it's kind of a meh movie. Even actually talking with you, Ginger, it kind of even elevated it a little bit more in my opinion. But I still think a 47%, like for real, like that is I would put it in like the 70% range for me.
Yeah, that's where I'd put it as well. Like 75 around there is fine. Yeah, it's not like perfect, but for fuck's sake, they gave like Black Panther and Shang-Chi really high scores
Yeah,
just to
and
tick
yeah,
that
no.
kind of woke thing. And those films were
Yeah.
they're not that great. They're not bad, don't get me wrong,
Well,
but they're
that
not
that's yeah,
great
that's where I'm
either.
at with this movie, and I'm glad you enjoyed it a lot more than I did. But still, there's a lot to enjoy in this movie, as you can
Yeah, there is
tell.
a lot to enjoy, and I can understand people's like gripes with it. Sometimes the pacing's a little bit off, but the pacing pays off in the end because in that time where it slows down, you get why these characters love each other and all of that, and then it kind of pays off at the end when he has a chance to kind of kill Xerxes and is just like doesn't, and he said kills himself. The sacrifice could have been a lot better rather than just finding it. So, but the
Yeah.
kind of slow moments kind of paid off in that regards. But I can see where people would have gripes with it. I'm not going to defend this film. It's not like a hill I'm willing to die on
Yeah. Well,
for
and,
this. I
as I
think.
said, I'm not sitting there saying that. I mean, there was a lot to like in this movie, and as I said, I think talking with you also elevated my my understanding a little bit more of it. I mean, I'd still
I
put it
think it's
probably
just
middle of the road in the MCU thing of things, but
yeah.
no, Eternal should not have been a TV show. We saw what happened with the Inhumans. Fuck that noise.
No, thanks.
Yeah, we don't
Definitely
need
not a
any
TV
drawn
show.
out stupid storylines of shaved heads and dogs teleporting places. No,
Yeah, and terrible acting.
yeah. Best actor was the best actor in that show in Humans was the one who didn't speak.
Yeah, yeah, he was great as Black Bolt. He
I
was
know.
surprisingly
I would bring him back if
fantastic.
they ever did an actual Inhumans movie, or at least had an Illuminati movie, and they brought him in. I'd be fine with that. I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah,
bring
I'd
him
be
back.
fine with him being Black Bolt. Yeah,
Yeah,
the rest of
just
them,
keep those
no.
other fuckers out
Recast.
of here.
My God, Crystal was the worst of the lot. Jesus Christ, what terrible. Oh, her and the main bad guy as well, who was in Game of Thrones as well. Gee, oh,
Yeah, you
let us
picked the
never
wrong
speak
guys
of the
from Game
worst
of
show
Thrones
ever
for that one.
created. Good God, that was
All
terrible.
right. Well, I think
Yep.
we've kind of. Oh, go ahead. I
Yeah,
think we
no,
kind of
that's
talked
it.
this
Yeah,
out. Mhm.
I've said everything I need to say.
Okay. So, thank you everybody for watching. We are NewTube. Oh God, I can't talk today. We are NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you've never fucking heard of, and we are going to leave you on this note. Catch you guys later.